You're alive.
So call the meeting back to order. Sort of. We're half back. Anyway, so we're on 8.1. Final reading bylaw, regional emergency management bylaw, addition of the town of Lunenburg housekeeping items. Anybody speaking to that or what's?
Unless you need us to, this was just some housekeeping items, that was stuff we, when Lunenburg, the town of Lunenburg was brought into Remo a few years ago, we never updated our bylaws, so this is just housekeeping.
So we just have to.
So this is just
adopt it.
second reading to adopt it.
Somebody prepared, will be adopted.
Motion to adopt.
Second,
Second.
discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion carried. Okay, 9.1, correspondence from Minister Kim Marsden in response to request regarding paved shoulders on Highway 329. Well,
Wonderful news.
hmm?
I said, that's just wonderful.
Yeah, it's whatever. It says what it says.
That's a good five, the good old 5-year plan.
Yeah, so.
I hope we can come up on the reaching out to set up a meeting because it needs to be discussed, I think. Other than that, not much we can do. I don't know who would reach out to meet with, but.
That's a good point. Maybe we should reach out to them.
Well, maybe we should, I mean, you know, it's high on my priority, I can tell you that.
Yes.
Well, reach out to
Maybe we
Logan
could-
Webb, I guess that's who it is. but-
Could we, I guess could we write back to them, tell them that we'd like to take them up in the offer to discuss the future plans?
Okay, is that a motion?
Yes.
Second,
I'll second.
discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion's carried. Okay, 9.2, email correspondence to Councilor Reno regarding Bayswater Fish Farm noise pollution, and we have a variety of emails. I think you all have a list of them. There were 3 additions, of which I think you all got this morning. Did you not?
There may be a few that I didn't get into the
Okay.
package, but in short, probably 80 to 90% of the correspondence I receive in my district is about this fish farm from residents, not outsiders. These are residents that are complaining about noise or light or whatever, various other problems that are associated with this thing. It's a pain in my butt. I don't like it. So the specific issue here, there are 2 actually. One is there's a generator that they use to run some aeration pumps. It's a big generator. And it runs 24/7 so people can sleep. And I know there is such thing as technology that doesn't make this noise, but they don't have it there. And so here we are, and I think that I'm hoping that this council or the staff will send some bylaw enforcement out to see if we can do something about this noise problem.
Well, I think it's pretty simple. We at least need to send our bylaw officer down there to examine the situation, to see what he determines and then report back to us.
Yeah, so Council Chad and I did have some discussions, and so I think we would start, our intention is to start gathering evidence in addition to the evidence that the citizens have already sent us. So we would look at things like time of day, days of the week, and to start to build a file.
Yeah.
To see if there is any action that we can, enforcement action we can take with our current bylaw, and if not, to bring back to council any action that we think council may need to take with respect to their bylaw. So yeah, so that's the starting point is to
We
get
need
our
to go
team member
gather
down
some
there.
information.
Yeah, appreciate that.
There's a second issue that's sort of on the radar. It's just slightly out of our jurisdiction, but we should be aware. And many of the correspondences also touch on it, and that is the proposed expansion. There is an application currently with UARB to expand the size, the geographic size of their lease so that they can, basically, they're actually already outside of where they're supposed to be. And I I think that it hasn't been looked on favorably by anybody in my community so far, and I'm not sure, we don't really have a role there, except for that we may wish, this council may wish to send a letter to the UARB along with the other residents voicing their concern about this expansion. And I would move that.
You have a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion on the motion.
Just what are we gonna do? I didn't hear all what the motion was.
Well, I would assume we would write a letter to them and advise them that we've had numerous complaints about the facility and are therefore concerned with any ability to expand. Or something to that.
Right. Process.
I have a question. So the correspondence that we've received in our package and the additional ones that we've received on our desk, it's about a dozen. We've received a presentation, and I get, because I've been here for a few years, I get the fact that people aren't pro-developments in their area. I get that. Whether it's noise or visual, there's all types of pollution. So I absolutely support Councillor Vino, just that as we move along and we would look to our past, I hope that everybody looks through that lens as well. So I absolutely, I can't be a hypocrite. I have to support Councillor Vino and the concerns of his community there. I just hope that we continue to do that with across the municipality. But so if we're going to write to the UARB or the challenging or concerned with their expansion, so we're concerned with a local business expanding. That's what we're doing.
Well, we're gonna write them and keep it fairly straightforward. The community has expressed on numerous occasions their concerns with the existing facility. So therefore, we are concerned with any ability that they would have to expand.
And I think it's, we have no control of it, but I think as a council, we have to do whatever we can do.
Well,
And
we're
if it's
advising them
spraying-
that this is an issue, in case they don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, we need to make that clear.
It is a regulated thing, and they have the ability to approve or deny.
That's right.
So they're not doing something as of right. So if somebody has a wood lot and they're operating a chainsaw and they're doing it lawfully, that's one thing. If they're doing it as of right, but this facility is requesting a permission. And I think it's, we have a responsibility to communicate
That
what
there's
the
people not happy.
wishes of our community.
That's why I asked what we did. We have to let them know.
This is
The
what we're
landlord
doing.
is not happy with it.
Yeah.
That's not saying, yeah, okay.
Would the process involve like any public meetings? For
They
expansion?
had in the summertime or in the fall, I believe, they had an information meeting. But, yeah. Fish farm meetings are they're very polarizing
Yeah.
events.
Yeah.
We know.
Oh, yeah.
Did we vote on that motion? I can't remember.
No.
All those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Okay, 10.1, community development, CAM's community school consideration.
So, I just wanted to take a little bit of time on the agenda this morning to talk about the community use of CAMs and CDS. So you all have the report that was circulated. So essentially, back in May 2020, we had a group from the school that came in and approached council and asked for consideration to take the good work that we've been basically doing in some of our other schools and apply that to the CAMs and CDS and to allow community use of that facility to take place. So staff did some work, and a few months later, council made the decision to approve that, but on a one-year trial period. So it wasn't an approval for full-time. Just to try it out for a year, see what happens. There were some concerns raised at that time around, impact on the community, other community facilities or other community schools. And so essentially to come back after a one-year period and report back on how things went. So here we are. Yes, it has been about a year later. So in the report, kind of outlines what has taken place over the past year. And so there's lots of really great things that have happened, that we've had a lot of good use of the school. We've had, you can see that some of the user stats in this, we had over 1,400 visits over the year period, and that was with the COVID. And of course, COVID had a significant impact on that 1 year trial period, because there were some periods where the community schools were closed for community access. And there were other periods where it was limited use. So instead of having open to the full facility like we normally would, we were restricted to one rental group per evening. And so, of course, we couldn't keep up with some of the demand throughout COVID. So I guess that's just a highlight. So that number that is represented there, 1,400 users, most likely would have been higher if it had not been for COVID.
Yeah.
And if council makes the decision to proceed, that we would anticipate those numbers would be quite a bit higher than what we experienced over the past year. And so the other thing just to mention in relation to COVID is there's a summary of revenue and expenses over the past year. And again, that isn't 100% accurate because there was a good period of time where the Center of Education was paying for all the community use, so there was no fee to us. And so there was a zero cost for those users at that time. But we did have the expenditure of staffing. And so that is included in that financial update, but we haven't been reimbursed for that yet. That's going to happen at the end of this fiscal year. So that the numbers that we had will actually be improved once we get that reimbursement of the staff salary. So I just wanted to make sure that you're aware of kind of that piece. So we were a little bit careful in terms of setting up the community use and hearing council's concerns about making sure that we weren't going to be drawing any or having any negative impact on our neighboring facilities. So we didn't want to have groups that were renting the Legion or the church hall to leave there and go to the community school. And so when we set our rental rates, we did kind of a little bit of research and to see what everybody else was charging for renting. We didn't want to severely undercut to make the school the kind of go-to place because it has the cheapest rent. So we set our rates accordingly. And so we found that we weren't experiencing any of that. So we don't know of any groups that left another facility to kind of come and use camps. It was more of an expansion of what was already happening. Tina, you referenced the Chester Art Center, so that was an opportunity for them to come in to the facility and our community use agreement to do some of that after school program. So that was kind of where we saw the activity happening. In addition to that, there was new groups that came out to use the school for badminton, floor hockey, and those types of events. And it was a different set of people that were coming because of the locations. And so we don't feel that there was a significant impact on community facilities or other community school operations. So that's basically a summary of that portion of the community use. So I don't know if there's anything else really to add on there, other than if council chooses to continue on a full-time basis, the way that we have the community use agreement set up with the Center of Education, that it was set up that it's used for that year term, but if council chooses not to continue, we would just end that agreement. If you choose to continue, it would just stay in place as it is, and community use would continue. So in terms of the agreement side of things, that's kind of already all taken care of. And on the financial side of things, so we had some estimates pulled together for what that trial year would cost. And so essentially we're saying we would use that for budget figures moving forward. Just because that's kind of a best guess based on the activity that happens at our other schools. And so that's basically what we're suggesting would be needed financially. And then of course on the human resource side, part of our experience in the community schools is that coordination piece it is critical. It just the community schools just don't work without that. And so that would be the other piece, and the way that we accommodated that, whether in the trial period, was to increase the part-time hours of the community development coordinator staff to full-time hours. And so if we continue, that staffing would need to stay at that level. So that's our overview on the staff.
Yeah, I just think it's I think it's a great idea. that we should just continue.
Well, it seems to apply.
Oh, and coming out of COVID, you know, field will be blown up in the next month, but I think there's gonna be a big demand, actually, and the convenience of, like you say, having it in your own area. And it's a no-brainer for me. I'll be like Tina, I'm all over this team. Anyway, thank you, that's all.
Yeah, and I know, I had concerns that it might take away from Forest Heights, but I know that they're booked, gym is booked completely, so it gives other opportunities for people to use a gym, for instance, so.
Yeah, and the gym is like, the gym is the portion of the school that has the most demand by far.
Yeah.
So to have that additional gym space available, and so the other good thing of having the agreement with both schools is that because the gym is in such high demand, when the CAM's gym is booked, if we have another request at the same time, we can just look at roll over to CDS, we can have them both running. So what ends up happening is we need to have some additional staff because they're separate facilities, so you need those additional like door monitors to be there to facilitate that. But it's great to have that like a backup gym available.
Gina?
Thanks, I absolutely embrace all 5 of our community schools, 5. Can I add, right, I think, ACES, NRCS, Forest Heights, 5, right, 5, fully embrace all 5, equally. And I am curious, not today, because I am in support of this conversation, but I am curious, you referenced it around the cost to us for our community schools. So I'm remembering back when we had all of those slides last year at this time. I think we met the Legion. We had all the meetings on the operating budget and different things as a municipality. I'm waiting for that sometime. I'm not sure when those are scheduled, but there were some line items in there around community schools. So I should have probably done my research before I came in today, but at some point I am curious about the budget cost for the community schools and, kind of each, we probably have it broken down by the 5 and so on. I'm just curious.
Yeah, and so as part of the operating budget, we have all the, guys, I want to know that information as well. So how each of the community schools operating, so we do have separate GL accounts, and so we do accommodate for each of the schools separately. And so we do have those budget figures and so the numbers that we developed for CAMS for CAMS and CDS were based on the budgets that we have for the other schools and just where we anticipate the level of visits and those extra costs that go with like the custodial cooking and all those things. Yeah, so that's all broken out as part of the operating.
And obviously, Warden Weber, Councilor Reese, and myself sit on the community use school committee for Forest Heights and ACES. So we haven't met with COVID, and that's okay. Things are moving along fine. So we would at least 3 of us have that background in those committee notes of those budgets, but I can't quite remember from a couple of years ago. And so, yeah. I think it's money well spent. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely do. Community infrastructure, community use, indoor or outdoor recreation, things like that, all of that, right? So yeah.
So we want to move forward, essentially.
I think so.
Yay.
So then into the budget deliberations.
I move we approve the permanent expansion of community use of schools to include CAMS and CDS and maintain the formal community use agreement with the SSRC.
The seconder, then I'll have something second. Anyway, the discussion is I just was going to go into the budget just because when we get to the budget part, you may want to cut something out. But who knows? I guess we can anyway. So at the moment, all those in favor? Against? I was scared, just prove it moment until we get to the actual budget.
Okay. Getting there. Community development, passage of bill 58. Minimum planning requirements.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
So what we have today is the draft amendments to the municipal planning strategy to bring us into compliance with provincial bill 58. So that was a bill that was passed in 2019. Broadly covers minimum planning requirements, which has a different effect on different municipalities depending on what sort of planning framework you have in place. Now, here in Chester, we have comprehensive planning and zoning throughout the municipality, so the impacts on us were pretty minimal. Other places like the District of Lunenburg that didn't have planned area, they now have to have a full planned
Bigger deal.
municipality. Yeah, so again, for us, basically when we looked at it, the main change that we were gonna need to make was just in how we engage with our abutting municipalities. And essentially what the province and what this bill is seeking was that we engage with them earlier in the process than we do currently. So currently we give notice before a public hearing. Just like it would go out to any residents, it would also go out to, the village of Chester as well as the District of Lunenburg, Westlands, whoever was applicable in that case.
Whoever around us.
So, so what we have here, and really the meat of it is in the attachments, Appendix A, which are the actual amendments themselves. So we took the opportunity to outline our current practice and procedure that we've done for public participation, as well as add in this new piece. So just to quickly go through it, the public participation program, which hopefully will sound fairly familiar, because this is in essence what we've been doing for the last number of years, has to occur before a public hearing is advertised. So that's for development agreements, amendments to the planning strategy, land use bylaw, subdivision bylaw, or review or new planning documents being prepared. Then we do our standard practice here, a public information meeting advertised in the local newspaper. We are going to add in here to use our municipal alerts system through the website that we have. That hadn't been something we've been doing, but it's an easy change, and I've been working with Jen, and we're going to include that. And similarly, we've used social media for planning advertising on sort of an ad hoc basis, and we're going to formalize that as well. So when I send the ad off to the newspaper, I'll send a copy to Jen, it'll go to the municipal alerts and social media. So just a couple more places to get it out there every time and consistently for people to know where to check. So then we go through our public information planning advisory committee, followed by the public hearing. That's all basically the same. The new piece comes at policy A6 here. So this is early notice for abutting municipalities. So this is before the first notice for a public hearing goes out. And it's only specific to certain types of planning documents. So it's really when we're doing a review of a planning strategy or bringing in a new planning strategy, or if a development agreement or a more minor amendment happens within a community that's near a municipal boundary. It sounds more complicated than it is, but basically we used our GSAs, our community names. And if a community falls within 500 meters in any part of a municipal boundary, then it gets picked up by this. So we have on the last page here, it actually lists the communities for each municipality. So just as an example, for the District of Lunenburg, that would include Beach Hill, Blandford, Chester Islands, 40s, Frady Corner, Gold River, Martins Point, Martins River. Those are all the communities that would
within that.
early notice to the District of Lunenburg, and we've broken that out for each of our neighbors. We basically just, similar to how we do it already, we send it through either regular mail or electronic means to the clerk of that municipality. And we did want to ensure in here that basically we don't have to wait for a response. So the fact that we've sent it out is we've done our reporting that's the opportunity for engagement. And what we wanted to ensure was that council wouldn't be held up making a decision because we haven't had a response received yet from these
They don't generally respond anyway.
Exactly, and we didn't want that to be the case. We're not going to create some headaches for us if we were supposed to wait for a letter that was not coming. So, that sort of summarizes the amendments. If council's happy with what you see here, what we're seeking direction to do is kind of funny, but to go through our public participation process because this is
We don't have any choice.
So we would look to hold a public information meeting. I would suggest this likely should go through both the municipal and the village planning advisory committees because it impacts both. And then we would bring it back to council for first reading after we have those three 3 meetings.
I just have a question, Gareth. Is it not, it's just, it says, where you say the general service areas of, that it's abiding. The Beach Hill, Blandford, Chester, Highlands, 40s, Franny Corner, Gold River, Martins Point, Martins River. You don't include Western Shore. Is that a reason why, or is it just not in there?
Western Shore was more than 500 meters
Oh.
from the boundary.
Okay.
That was, because when we looked at our maps.
Okay,
and
yeah, I
GSAs,
was just looking at it, yeah.
Yeah, initially we were going with just the communities that abutted, but then there's a few places where you've got a really narrow section and then another community. And so that's where we came up with this, anything within 500 meters. And I should note as well, which I remiss in summarizing this, we worked with jointly here with all the municipal units.
Oh, yeah, because they all have to do the same thing.
We don't have exactly the same policy because we all do it in slightly different ways, but that 500 communities within 500 meters, that's common, so the district of Lunenburg is using that as well. And most of the towns are doing something along the lines of within 500 meters. So we try to keep the spirit, because that's what this is all about, is working with our neighbors. So we did collaborate with them, and we have one actually final meeting just to review that, so I'll be updating you on these discussions.
Okay, so option one, anybody have a problem with that?
No.
We want to move it?
So moved.
Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. Yeah, it's not like you got an awful lot of choices. Somebody's always adding something to the list of things to do. Okay. Next two should be relatively simple. 10.3 designated community fund request. Chester-based fire department wants us to release $500 from the account that we set up to collect money for.
Motion to approve the designated community fund grant as requested.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion carried. District grant request, Hubbard's Lions Club, $1,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion's carried. And that's, yeah, so motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh, we had the,
Oh, COVID policy, forgot it.
everybody heard the news yesterday, and we just recently adopted a policy to mandate vaccines within our staff, and I just wanted to just pose the question to the Sage Council, if maybe we may wish to repeal that policy in light that we will be making people vaccinate just in time to have all the mandates lifted.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It's, yeah, 601.5 does, yeah. I don't fully understand what the problem is. I know that they don't have to have them go into restaurants. I don't know if they're still making their own employees do it, or if they aren't.
Yeah, what I heard yesterday, they didn't confirm that or not.
No, that's what I,
They did say something about there's some employers that still need to work through what.
well, I know the healthcare
but I don't-
system.
Yeah, so I know they're keeping it in place for healthcare. I don't know about employees, but like hospitals and stuff will still have to have, there'll still be some requirements for like long-term care facilities.
I'm not sure.
and stuff. But I'm not sure what
Correct.
province is doing yet.
Well, I mean, they're lifting it, you can go everywhere you want, do whatever you want. People can come in the building without having it and all that kind of stuff.
I feel whatever.
I feel like it just, if you're one of those few that really feels strongly about it, you know, it's gonna be a real blow to morale, I feel, for those individuals that are being forced, and
Well, if you don't need it anyway.
and it just doesn't seem like it's appropriate when they can go everywhere else except for to work.
Yeah.
But that's, that's just my take on it, it's not a hill for me to die on, as you say, but I just feel like we may have, if we were gonna put this policy in place, we probably should have done it 6 months ago or something, and didn't want to keep it with the provincial.
Tina?
Yeah, so I heard the news yesterday, like everybody, and probably didn't go, through diving into my research and thought process, and took a lot of the lens of the entire staff complement here and how what this might mean to them, because they, you know, if they're vaccinated, they made that effort. So what will it mean to them, things like that. So for me, my opinion, my feelings and opinion about have not changed. I'm still in favor of keeping it in place. So that's just me, and I'm just putting it out there for public records.
If we were to repeal, we need 7%.
I can't remember. Somebody would have to tell me. Yeah. I mean, I'm in favor of repealing it because, and if you have to put it back in place because something else happens, then you do it. You know, it seems like the whole world is going at this moment in the direction of getting rid of all the regulations. So, I mean, if all the public's allowed to come in and out of this building and not have to show any proof of vaccination or anything else, or mask or anything, then what's the difference if the staff? You know, it's just-
Well, it was put in place because of, you know, the Emergency Act and.
And that's
following suit of the
and that
province.
was the policy of the province of Nova Scotia. They were, but it's changed.
It's changed as of March 21st, so I mean, I don't know that we should do more. If it's going to be repealed March 21st, I think we need to maybe get clarification of that.
Mandatory vaccinations are ending on Monday, this
Yeah,
Monday.
I know it's
The
that.
rest of the restrictions get lifted on the 21st of March. But what that means for employers, I don't know. The mandatory vaccination, what they were calling the passport is whatever.
I mean, I think that from what I understand, that an employer was allowed to do it if they wanted to. Just like.
It's at the employer's discretion.
Yeah. But it's just that we did it because of provincial policy.
One final comment, and I said this before, when we first started discussing it, it was like in December or so. And then
Yeah, things were
the
bad.
world has changed a fair amount since these last few months. I think it's been my first discussion.
Yeah, Gina.
So I guess you're not, person's not shouldn't speak if they don't know, but I don't know that I did it because it was provincial. I did it because I looked to the healthcare, the provincial employees, employers that took it upon themselves to do that. That's how I made my decision, and right or wrong, as an employer, and looking to the staff that are employed here. That's how I made my decision when I did this.
Well, I've made most of mine based on listening to Dr. Strang tell me what he thought was in the best interest of the public to do. And
Absolutely,
that's what I tried to do.
right on.
But right now, he's apparently advised Premier to lift the restrictions, or at least is in favor of it, so.
Making that motion on the
Make a motion to repeal that.
Mandatory
vaccination.
effective the 28th.
That's, well, we
Yeah,
don't.
the 28th, I would feel comfortable with.
The issue is we don't want to force people to go get a vaccine now.
And then next week,
And
it's
then,
repealed.
and then 3 weeks later, they don't have to have it
That's
anymore.
maybe 3 days or something.
Well, it doesn't matter, it's a process. What's the process for
Yeah,
us? to
so
repeal?
the policy, people had to provide proof by today. Is that 2 weeks? 2 weeks, so that's today, I think. And then they had 60 days from the effective date of the policy, which was 2 weeks ago, to get their vaccination. So whether we did it today or
2 weeks from
Monday,
now, it's all right.
it's probably not gonna be.
Okay.
I decide the 28th makes sense.
Okay, fine.
No funny.
So you moved it, seconded, discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Repeal.
Sort of clarification.
Derek is
See
opposed.
Derek, I guess.
Derek was opposed.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see Derek come up.
Oh, his arm went up.
So Tina and Derek.
Tina and Derek both voted against it.
I don't know if we got 60 versus 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
5 or 7.
Yeah,
5 or 7.
yeah.
You're okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Anyways, repeal.
Okay.
Okay, a motion to adjourn,
Cliffhanger. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
discussion, all those in favor, opposed,